Hey everybody, welcome back to the Skookum Report. My name's Bob, and tonight's Bigfoot encounter is from a gentleman named Eric Dufour. Now that's D-U-F-O-U-R. He says he's from Eastern Canada, so I'm assuming he's French-Canadian. That's where my family's from, New Brunswick, and my last name's Daigle. Maybe you know some Daigles up there, Eric. And Eric says, "Hi, first off, sorry for all the mistakes I'll make. English is not my maternal language." That's alright, man. No big deal. Here's my Bigfoot story. I don't know why, but it is the first time I tell this to anybody. You'll see it's kind of funny, but I still think about how I got scared that night, and I probably need to tell someone. So here you go. My name is Eric, and I live in Eastern Canada, in a secluded yet rural area, with asphalt roads and sparse streetlights. My log house is small, but it's fully equipped with Wi-Fi and everything. My neighbors are not that far away from me. One, Mary, is about 60 to 70 feet from me, and Pat is on the other side about 30 yards away. But we all have full view of each other's homes. Mary and me are sharing one long and large driveway, which is dark with only our house lighting it up. The woods start behind our house at about 175 feet, and it's not really thick, and it starts immediately as an uphill terrain. Our property has close to no trees around the houses. In front, there's a road, a patch of about 100 foot of clear field, and then a lake with a small island with one giant house on it. Wow, that's cool, or creepy. On this night, there was one heck of a snowstorm. It was unusual for this time of the year, and we would double the quantity of snow as we were awaiting more than 18 inches of snow. It was cold enough that the snow was dry and powdery. The wind was strong and close to 60 miles per hour, and we all lost electricity. And because of the snow, it was not totally dark outside, but when we lose electricity, it means about 5 to 7 mile radius is out, including streetlights. The house on the island is equipped with a generator, and they were providing a dim light over to my house. Very dim because of the squalls of snow. I have a gas fireplace, but my tank was empty, and I had no firelight. I was sitting in the living room listening to music on my cell phone, and occasionally looking at the internet as I still had data service. At around 9:45 p.m., Mary texted me, "Did you see this guy around our trucks? He's just standing there, looking around. It's weird." I got to the windows closer to where my pickup is parked, and I saw nothing, except the traces or disturbances in the snow like somebody had walked there. I noodled with the thought of getting out there, but I didn't. As neighbors often drive or walk up our driveway, it didn't bother me that much. I went back to my lazy boy and messed around on my phone. After 45 minutes, I decided to go to bed, seeing we would not get electricity back for at least another 2 hours, as the provider's website was saying. I got to the kitchen sink to get a glass of water, and there it was. I saw this black figure all scrunched down, right smack in the middle of the driveway, scooping snow into its face. I went to another window to get a better view, and by that time, the figure was in the process of standing up. The first thing I thought was that it was this tall kid who often comes through our places to access his cabin. But the figure was still unfolding itself. It was huge. Check that. No, tall. I should say tall. Too tall. It was looking down and kicking snow around like a depressed goth kid. That's funny. So I could not see its face, and I don't think it saw me. It turned to go to my trash can. It opened it gently like I would. It looked. Then it closed it, because it was empty, I guess. Then it quickly scrunched back down and rolled or slid down my driveway really quickly, and when it came to the road, it literally jumped over it and made so much commotion in the snow, I lost sight of it, but I guess it went out to the lake in the front. I was like, what in the world was that? but I convinced myself it was just that kid from before. The view I had when it jumped over the road was not the best, and this kid owns a motorcycle-like one-track snowmobile, which is electric. So it's quiet and powerful, and I convinced myself that this was it. It was the kid on his electric toy, with his scarf making him look bigger in all his dark snowsuit. So I forgot about it and started my going-to-bed rituals. By that time, the snow had slowed down a bit. The wind was still strong. Then I remembered I didn't drink my glass of water. I was thirsty, so I went back to the kitchen. The way my house was built, a normal man could not look in any of the windows as they are way too high. I'm 5'10", and I can't even stretch my hand to the bottom of the windows. That's just to give you an idea. As I was drinking my water without any sounds other than the wind slamming the snow into the house, I saw a shadow from the living room window. I said, "Damn, that snow is wild." I went over, and there it was, just in front of the window, but not facing the house. I could see the top of its shoulder and its massive head. From behind, it looked like some hippie with long hair on its head and shorter on its shoulders. I love your descriptions, man. That's hilarious. It slowly turned its head and was snorting like it was smelling something in the air. But I only saw its yellow, human-like teeth, too big for a man, and just parts of its nose. Long hair covered most of its face, and the wind didn't help at all. I almost soiled myself. This was no man. It was there about 10 feet away, just on the other side of a simple window. It grunted a little, and as quickly as before, it went down under the window. And that's when I saw a truckload of snow come flying up in the sky, slamming onto the house. As it grunted louder, it moved beside the house as I saw its head bopping in and out of view from window to window. It tackled my trash can, which went flying on the patio. And I saw the next day there was a slip print in the snow, so I guess maybe it didn't tackle the can on purpose. Maybe it slipped and fell into it or something. Checking I didn't soil my undies, I found the courage to unfreeze myself and go near the door. I was literally scared crapless. It was now standing straight up beside my truck and was looking at the trash can. Both arms stretched down to its knees. I estimate its height at about 7.5 feet. It was shaped like a bodybuilder, V-shaped. The hair on its head was longer and moving with the wind, but not on its body. At least not as much. I could not see its feet as it was standing in a good foot of fresh snow. It was covered in snow and it looked very damp. Then with a swoop of its arm, it completely wiped off the snow on top of my truck, and it did the same on the roof of my shed next to the truck while grunting again. It scrunched down again and was throwing snow up in the air. It really looked like it was playing. Like when you put a cat out in the first snow. It didn't look angry or worried. And again, I don't think it saw me in the house. I had my cell phone in my hand, but I couldn't bear to take a picture, scared to death it would attract its attention. Then a burst of wind made the cover of the trash can move, and it made a noise. It looked at it and jumped forward like 10 to 12 feet, and it ran on all fours with long strides until it came to the tree line, and then it ran on 2 feet up the hill and disappeared. I could see the snow from the pine trees coming down as it knocked into him while running. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I was terrified. I don't own firearms, and I'm not an outdoors man. I just wanted to live in a quiet place. I didn't feel safe at all, but it didn't come back. And the next day it was sunny, cold, and crisp outside. There was no more wind, and I didn't want to, but I went outside anyway. And I grabbed a shovel and went to the side of the house. Under my windows previously mentioned, there is supposed to be snowbanks that were snowblown by the guy who opens up our driveway, compacted snow from before. I could see there were windshield wiper-shaped traces there, with the snow sticking to my house in a curved motion. Now, to stick, the snow had to be thrown really hard. This thing must have been huge and strong to almost clear the entire side of the house. I went over to my truck, and it was the same thing. Wiper-shaped motion on top of the truck, but even more impressive on the roof of the shed. For me to be able to wipe off half of what was gone, I'd have to just climb up into the bed of the truck. I looked around to see footprints, but the wind and snow from the night before messed everything up. Same thing in my yard, where I could see only indentations 7 to 8 feet apart, but they were filled in with fresh snow. And by that time, the snowblower guy turned into my driveway and messed everything up even more. Mary asked me if I saw the guy. She didn't see much as she went to bed right after. She texted me. She was totally oblivious. Pat came around later walking his dog, and the dog immediately went over to the side of the house and went batshit crazy, howling like the basset hound, that is, over the tiny part that the snowblower didn't cover up. Pat told me it must have picked up a weird smell, and then told me, "Can I tell you something crazy?" He proceeded to tell me he saw Footsie in his yard last night and in mine. It scared his dog so much that it hid in the bathtub. But the only thing Footsie did was roll around in the snow and throw some in the air. He showed me a picture of a footprint in more compacted snow, and I could see the print with the basset sniffing it. You could see the shape of the foot, but not much more. It was 1.5 times the size of the dog's head. "Footsie?" I asked. "Seems a few old locals know about this Sasquatch coming around once in a while around our parts of the woods." Pat told me he saw it twice in the last 10 years, but one of his friends who was a farmer up the road saw it more often coming around his property, and he named it Footsie. The weird thing is Footsie never causes any trouble. The worst thing it did was steal a plastic barrel cover from a farmer guy found on the other side of the property. Sometimes it would just be standing in the field with the cows and crouch down in the middle of them to hide. The farmer, John, puts out buckets of vegetables that aren't good enough to sell, puts them out on the edge of the woods, and most of the times the food was gone and the bucket was on its side somewhere. Probably a deer, but a couple of times he found the bucket squarely standing in the middle of his field in plain view, like it was saying, "More, please." Pat and John, the farmer, told me Footsie rarely comes by and usually in the summer. The last sighting 10 years ago. John told me he is not scared of it, and if you scream or make any loud noises, it would run away and not come back for a long time. This appeased my mind a lot. Knowing it never broke anything and was scared at loud noises made it easier to deal with. And from what they told me, Pat and me are the ones who were closer to it, probably because it didn't see us. Since then, more than 3 years ago, I've never seen it. I did install these Pink Floyd-esque concert lights that made the sun seem weak. Mary, who still didn't know, did the same and installed a couple of lights too. We both have some of those pocket sun lights pointed directly at the tree line to scare the wildlife away, and frankly, it makes it look beautiful at night. Now, if you go by our houses, though, be careful because there might be a plane trying to land there. Oh, man. Now, 3 years later, I'm selling my house. Playful Bigfoot or not, that's a nope for me. I know it would not come close if people were close by, but still. Well, that's my story. Weird, huh? Man, thank you very much for sending that, Eric. I appreciate that. That's some story, bro. You were 10 feet away from this thing? Man, I wish you had taken a picture, but then again, if you had your flash on or something like that, yeah, you might have freaked him out and, well, you either would have gone running off or busted your window. thinking it was some kind of, threat or something like that. But, man, I appreciate you emailing me that. And you take care, and wherever you're at now. You said that was 3 years ago, and you're selling your house? Yeah. Now it's been 3 years, and I'm selling my house. So I guess you're still there. But, wow. All right, man. Well, if you or anybody you know has had a Bigfoot encounter or a Bigfoot sighting and you'd like to have it on the channel here, write it down in an email, shoot it off to me at skookumreport@gmail.com. That's skookumreport@gmail.com. And I'll be sure to get it up on the channel for you. It's not a problem at all. And don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave a comment and say hi. And we can chat. I enjoy talking to all of you guys, and a lot of good people out there, man. So, I guess that's it for tonight's Skookum Report, and I'll see you all again on the next episode. God bless, take care, you guys are awesome, and I'm out. Bye.